Hey there and welcome to the first video in my series on AutoCAD and Illustrator. I want to just take a moment and say thank you to my patrons who support me financially in these videos. And if you want to become one of my patrons, please look in the link in the comments below and you'll see my, my Patreon page. So this video we're going to go ahead and cover I'm basically making a pitch. It's like a sales pitch. So, and let me be totally upfront with you. I love Adobe Illustrator. I have a love-hate relationship with it, but mostly I love Adobe Illustrator, and I think it's a really important tool to know how to use as a CAD user. So, the goal of this video is to convince you that it's worth your time to learn the basics of Adobe Illustrator. So let me kind of talk a little bit about it. We're going to talk about what it does. We're going to talk about who uses it and the technology behind it. And then we're going to talk about some usage cases. So let's bust it through the first little bit here as fast as we can and get to the usage cases. So this is Adobe Illustrator over here. And as you can see, we've got this drawing option here. You can see we've got tools on the side, and we can take points and connect them and all that stuff. And this is going to seem a lot, a lot similar to AutoCAD, in fact. And the reason is because what happens is you're defining points on a coordinate system, and then those points are being connected with some sort of object. So, for example, we can draw circles or squares or rectangles or whatever, right? And again, this whole thing is made up of it's kind of hard to see them, but if you look at the corners here, you've got these little boxes at the end, and those are individual points that control that object. So, if we go back to AutoCAD here, you'll notice, we make something, and again we have these control points and we can move them around, and the same thing is accurate for Illustrator. We can grab these points, there we go. It's a little more difficult, but you can grab the point and you can shove it around, and we're gonna get back to this in much more detail. What I want you to notice is that these two pieces of software have a lot of similarities initially. They diverge pretty quickly, but they have a lot of similarities in their drawing content, and because of that, it's fairly easy to move data between the two. Now, Adobe Illustrator it's called vector-based drawing software, and the purpose of this software generally is for graphic design or web development, web design, or sometimes it's used in cinema for title pages. What are they called? Title blocks. I don't know. There's whatever frames got names and business. Anyhow, so they're used for that kind of thing a lot, and so you wouldn't think it's necessarily naturally a fit with CAD software, but I'm going to kind of make a few cases here. The thing to remember is that, again, this is vector-based editing software. Now, when you think of an image, you normally probably think of what's called a raster. It has pixels, and it's some shape, and it's made up of rows and columns of pixels, and they have colors, and when you zoom out far enough, it looks really nice, right? So, for example, here is a rastered image, right? We zoom out, and it looks fantastic, but we start zooming in, or in other cases we blow it up, right? And you start seeing all these pixels that it's composed of, and it loses its resolution very quickly as you try and expand it. In contrast to that, we have this vector graphic, which has, for all intents and purposes, infinite resolution. It can be resized, it can be scaled up, scaled down, it can be stretched and skewed and all that jazz, and it won't actually change. You won't get these weird looking graphical artifacts like pixelation and stuff like that, because again, these objects are defined mathematically, right? They're defined as points in a coordinate system, and then objects connecting those points. So that can be transformed, scaled really, really easily. So again, these are two very critical terms that you understand, the difference between a raster and a vector. So let's talk about usage cases. We've talked about what it is, we've talked about how it works, kind of raster and vector thing, we talked about who uses it. Let's talk about some applications that where it's just really nice to have CAD applications. So let's start with the concept of designing a title block or a corporate identity. Like, let's say that you have you just opened up a new shop and you want to have a title block that looks really slick. Maybe you get a graphic designer to do some elements, and you want to have them design a title block. They can actually design it in Illustrator, and you can pull it. Given that it's within certain parameters, you can pull it directly into AutoCAD, and you can use it natively in AutoCAD. And that's really fantastic because it means that you can take somebody else's workflow, someone who's professional at the graphic design element of things, and you can take their information and pull it directly into AutoCAD so that you can do your architectural engineering drawings and have it look really nice. You can do this also for things like block libraries or for things like details. So there are all sorts of applications for pulling data from Illustrator into AutoCAD. Another instance of this is when you are working with PDFs from manufacturers. I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but a lot of times I'll work with manufacturers and they won't have the CAD assets that I need, but they'll have PDFs that have images of the assets that I need. So I know somewhere along the line they've got these CAD assets, but they're not immediately available. So what I'll do is I'll take the PDF and I'll open it in Illustrator. Let me show you kind of how that works. So I've got Illustrator here. I'm going to go ahead and open this PDF. We got, bam, that one right here. This is a multi-page PDF, and so it's going to have me kind of scan through, and let's see if we can find any that have like really great images. Here we go. So this has got a couple of both. So this is an interesting, so this is just telling me that I don't have some of the fonts, and that's fine. This is an interesting layout, and the reason is because this has both rasters and vectors. So if you look here, this here is vector-based graphics, right? This is raster-based graphics. And they use them seamlessly in the same thing. And when you print at high enough resolution, it doesn't really make visually a difference. Like, you can't really tell the two apart. But when it comes to editing things, you can't actually pull this directly into AutoCAD and work with it the same way you can with vector graphics. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll say, okay, well, I actually need this drawing right here. Let's see here. Let's grab that thing. I'm going to go ahead and just copy that, make a new file so I don't have to worry about crap kicking around. And then I can come in here and say, okay, well, I don't need that, I don't need that. And the rest of that looks pretty good. Right, so you can zoom in, you can see, okay, we've got screws and they look really good, and then you've got this plate and we've got this other wall plate, and that's all wonderful. So now at this point what we can do is we can export the drawing. So we go to File, we go to Export, and you can actually export it as a DWG. So what we can do is we can say, okay, this is wall plate thing, and you just click Save. For whatever reason on CS6 it doesn't let you just press enter, whatever. You'll notice I am using Adobe Illustrator CS6. So this is an older version. This is not the Creative Cloud version. I'm sure the Creative Cloud version works the same way. I can't imagine they've taken this functionality out unless there's some like huge falling out between Adobe and Autodesk, and I haven't heard anything about that, which doesn't mean it hasn't happened. But you can notice here it's going to save an older version of an AutoCAD drawing, and this is going to be also very relevant when it comes to pulling data from AutoCAD into Illustrator. So we're going to go ahead and save this here really quick, and it should be done. And then we're going to go ahead and open up AutoCAD. I'm going to go here to wallplatething.dwg, which is the one we just created. Pull that open. It's going to tell us this application, this file was not created by an Autodesk application, and that's fine. We don't We don't care about that. You notice it comes in, and it looks a little funny, right? And this is because it comes in as a block and it's got some funny properties. But this is really easy to clean up. So you can, we can go ahead and open the block here. I'm just going to get rid of that, and I'm going to take everything and set it to be by layer. So set it all layer 0. Color by layer, line weight by layer. Okay, and you can see, this is the drawing that came through, and it looks a little funny here, right? And the reason is because AutoCAD shows you the paths without kind of any embellishment, and the embellishment is really what you get out of Adobe Illustrator. It's the visual whistles and bells. So, but functionally the same data is here, and you might need to clean it up a little bit, but it's there. So you can save that, and there it is, and we have our AutoCAD drawing. And again, you can zoom in as deep as you want. Now, one of the things you'll notice in this a lot is you lose curves and stuff like that. But so it's not optimal when it comes to trying to produce like super accurate drawings. But this is a workflow that you can use for things like details or things like things other than details. If you need to pull anytime you need to pull graphical data from a PDF into AutoCAD, you can do it this way. So the two aren't completely inseparable. So let's jump back into Illustrator here, and I'm going to kind of talk about one more thing and one last thing, and that's pulling data out of AutoCAD and pulling it into Illustrator. So again, you can do this. This is another workflow that's used with some frequency, and what happens is people will design something in AutoCAD, and then they'll want to pretty it up for some sort of print application, and in which case they take it into Illustrator and they do their work, and then they can go ahead and plot or print that, save it to PDF, whatever they want to do with it, and it looks really, really great. It's this professional graphical quality. So as opposed to the kind of print quality that you get out of AutoCAD, which is it's not bad, but it's not graphic design quality. It's architectural engineering drawing quality, which is perfect for what we need, but it's not perfect for advertising and marketing and all that stuff. So a lot of times that's done for things like presentations and the like. Anyhow, so that is about it for this video. Again, we talked about what Illustrator was, what kind of the technology is behind it, and how that relates to AutoCAD. We talked about who uses Illustrator predominantly, and then we talked about 3 usage cases. And I hope this was sufficiently convincing for you to want to seriously look into learning more about Adobe Illustrator. I'm planning on having a series of videos that come along with this one. So stay tuned, and we'll get more of them to you. If this video was good, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If it was great, life-changing, go ahead and subscribe. You can become my patron as well, and I will thank you personally, and it'll be wonderful for both of us. And the link for my Patreon thing is down below, and I will see you in the next video.